to understand rather than to be understood, and to love rather than to be loved. For it is in giving that we receive. It is in forgiving that we are forgiven. It is in dying of self that we awaken to eternal life. Amen. So thank you everybody for listening to that. So as usual, this is a multiple choice. The first choice, and you guys seem to skip it every week, is you can get my famous lecture on homeostasis. It's a tremendous lecture. Every time I give it, I'm really impressed. That's choice number one. Choice number two is we're going to discuss the nature, the source, and the experience of happiness. So if you remember, last week we did pain and pleasure. Now we're on happiness, which, believe it or not, relates to it. So, with that being said, all those in favor of listening to my famous, tremendously insightful, hard-hitting lecture that is so wonderful that you couldn't even get through the day without hearing it on homeostasis, raise your hand. 2. Okay. 3, 4. We're getting better. Okay, all those who want an interactive, not didactic group on the nature, source, and the movement of happiness, raise your hand. Okay, you guys got it. Allison, you lost. Sorry. As usual, wrong again. Richard, you screwed up. Sorry. Hey, Richard, I like your beard. It's getting longer.
It is.
Yeah. Richard, can you do something for me just really quick? Can you just say, very interesting? Yeah, like that. Perfect. Okay. So the happiness people, you won. So if you want, we'll do the homeostasis next week. But actually, I assume that you would prefer happiness over homeostasis. But you know what I do. I stick my fingers through things that I should not stick my fingers through. So I'm going to begin.
Wow.
Oh, Allison, you caught that. Okay. So wait, I'm going to read you a chapter. Richard, stay out of it. I'm going to read you a chapter from my book. You all know that oh, you can't see it because it's camouflage. Anyway, this is the last chapter of my book, and this has to do with the topic today. So do you mind if I read like 4 or 5 paragraphs really quick? Everybody okay?
Go for it.
James, you got a haircut? No. Okay. So this is the last chapter of my book. So now that we've reviewed, considered, analyzed, and discussed the nature and process of relationships, I am hoping that you have come to this spiritual conclusion. Relationships, as what appears to be life itself, is a very elaborate and enticing but self-created dream. Okay, everybody understand what I just said? That relationships themselves, the relationships that are ongoing in your mind, even at this moment, and the ones that you remember, are dreams. Okay, we'll debate this later. I know this is a harsh statement, but since you have read this far, but you didn't, Esoteric needs to invite you to take this journey of self-discovery, blah, 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 blah. Happiness and contentment themselves are often misunderstood. We are trained early on to seek these experiences and feelings. You have been reading this book, blah, blah, blah. This is quite understandable. Truly, you all want to be happy. Okay, let's have a show of hands. Those who wish to be happy, raise your hand. Allison, I caught you sleeping.
No, I raised
Did you? Richard. Oh, he's at the head of the class. Okay. You all want to be happy. All your desires and self-identified needs, whatever they may be, are longing for happiness. This is quite understandable. Our minds quickly equate happiness with what? John, you know the answer to this question. Happiness with what?
Oh, you froze up.
Uh-oh, I'm on.
Pleasure.
Well, it's kind of like pleasure, but there's something else. Beyond pleasure, what is the mind always seeking?
Oh, we're always stay alive to, or,
You're on it. Stay alive is what?
Seeking pleasure.
Seeking pleasure, the root of seeking pleasure is survival. Do you remember last week? We discussed this?
Yeah.
Everybody understood from last week.
yeah, there's seeking, you're either dead or you're alive. Yeah.
Okay, but the mind is working at doing what, James? The mind is working to continue. And to continue in the terms of the mind is to do what? From last week, come on, this is a pop quiz, you can do it. What is the mind always seeking in order to survive?
It's happiness. The mind's always seeking happiness.
Happiness and pleasure. Pleasure and happiness. Happiness and pleasure. Everybody understand that, because we're going to go more into it. I want you to understand what's going on. Everybody okay with it? Anybody want to elaborate before I go on? In the group room, everybody okay? Okay. I'm just going to read a little bit more and then I'm going to talk. Desire in itself is not wrong. So the desire that the mind creates in order to be happy is not a mistake. It's not wrong. It is a reflection of life itself. It is the urge to grow in knowledge and experience. And why should it be any other way, Richard?
Oh, you want me to answer something there?
Yeah.
Say it again.
See, he was snoozing. Why should it be any other way other than the way it is? This is what the mind does. Why should it be different?
It's not.
Okay, Richard already has the answer. This is what we're going to discuss in the group. So, I finished reading the book. The book is boring. Forget it. Don't buy it. Here,
It's a good read.
I'm going to tell you a story. Today, I was really irritated by everybody. Did anybody in this group have such a day where anything that happened and everything that happened irritated the shit out of you? Has anybody experienced that?
A little bit.
A little bit.
Every day.
Okay, who said every day?
Allison M.
Perfect. Allison, perfect.
Yes.
So to be irritated, to be distressed, to be impatient, what is creating that feeling? Is it the person, situation, or is it you?
I think sometimes it's a combination of all three.
Okay,
Because I-
good answer.
Wait.
Allison, great answer. Wrong. It is not the combination of everything. It is only how your mind is responding to what's happening and what's perceived to be happening. John, you follow that?
I do.
Okay, so the mind is getting sensory experiences and messages from the eyes, the ears, the touch. The mind is always getting information. Is this information, does it have any kind of substance? Does it have any kind of interpretation when the information is coming in?
Knowing from past experience and the other classes we've taken, I would say that no, because it doesn't exist.
It exists as a sensory experience, but once it is received by the mind as a sensory experience, what does the mind do?
Label.
It labels it, but it labels it that's a little bit further in the process. It starts discerning where it fits in based on what. Follow this, this is really important. Where your experience fits in relation to what?
No. No.
Okay, self is good. Who said self? Was that Michael? Okay, but what self are we talking about?
Mind.
What self are you referring to?
The mind.
Okay, the mind is who?
Well, that's exactly it. The mind is just a sensory, it's a sensory organ in order to, filter external stuff.
Okay, did everybody hear what he said? That's quite accurate. But what does this organ do that kind of gets you off the beam? What does it do when it gets information, it processes the information, it interprets the information, and then what's the next thing it does, Allison?
It has a temper tantrum and applies.
Okay, good. It creates feelings and emotions based on the interpretation of experience. Does everybody get that? Allison Mimic, do you get that?
Of course.
I gotta know you.
Social Security, they said that they found fraudulent charges.
Allison, you got that?
I told you, it's just.
So
I told you. Wanda,
when something happens, now let me mute him a minute.
I'm sorry. I thought.
That's fine. Should I mute you, Richard? I hate to mute you. Allison, I'm connecting with you. We had a brief conversation about experiences and what happens and what is the root and the foundation of the feelings that are created by the experience. You say it's the experience and you. Is that a true statement or a false statement?
You're talking to the other Allison, right? Allison M?
Yeah, because she's the one that said it.
Yeah.
Oh, what did I say?
You said it's a combination of what's happening on the outside and what's happening on the inside. Is that true or not true?
I think it is.
Okay. Can anybody give some challenge to what Allison said?
I don't think that it's the external, I think it's just that voice inside that creates that drama or the negative feelings, because you could argue that you could do that about anything that someone said to you or any experience you have. We always have that ability to turn it into something else, so I think it's us.
Okay, if it needs to turn into something else, which brings me to the rest of my story. So today, I was irritated by everybody. Has anybody in this group seen Annoying Orange? Nobody has watched Annoying Orange on YouTube? Are you still with me?
We're hanging on the edge of our
Ah. Are we back?
Oh,
You're,
too late, we put out and stuff. Yeah,
He's a better speaker than me.
if you jump, you wanna jump, get on.
Hey, Michael, can you hear me at all? Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna log out and try to call you again, because is this working at all? Ah. Hmm.
Okay.
Richard, you gotta do,
That was your problem. Remember, you did it, not me.
I did it or you did it?
He let you back in, I told him not to.
Of course. Okay, so I'll tell you the rest of the story. Everybody hear me now?
yep.
Okay. I think Allison gave up on the group. Oh, there she is. Okay. So I had this day where everybody that came into my store, everybody I talked to, everything that happened was wrong. Was wrong. It was really irritating me. I was irritated. I was distressed. I was angry. I was upset. I was not at peace. So what I did is when I closed the store, when I left the store, I went to the gym and I worked out at the gym. So, Allison, why did I do that?
To relieve stress.
Exactly what I did not do it for.
Distraction.
Okay, Richard, that's exactly what I did not do it for.
You didn't do it for anything, you just went.
James, why did I go to the gym when I'm having a day like that?
Endorphins. I don't know. That's why I go.
Okay, that's what I want you to look at. John, get this. This is important. This is just for you. The other people have no clue. John, I want you to understand. I want you to think about me the way I know what's going on in myself. Why would I go to the gym when I'm so upset?
Look at chicks. No, I'm kidding.
Of course. Why do I go to the gym after I have such an upsetting day?
You went to the gym to better yourself.
No! No!
Because
that's
you
what
could.
you do?
This is what I do. This is what I do. On Thursday afternoon, I go to the gym. Now, I want you to take note. Everybody that heard that question and listened to the story, I want you to take note of what your mind immediately did. What your mind immediately did is you created what is called spiritually spiritual and emotional cause and effect. In other words, what your mind assumed that if I was in distress, what's the assumption?
You have to
I have to fix it.
Yeah, these are really,
Okay, do you understand that's the source of the conflict? I told you a story about me being in distress, impatient, and overly sensitive to everybody, and really disliking everybody. Was that a problem or not a problem?
Not a problem.
Temporary, not a problem.
James, you finally got it. You understand that was not a problem. That was a condition. It was not a problem. If I create a problem out of it, Allison, this is especially for you because this is what your mind does, is the mind processes something, creates feelings as a result of the processing, and then starts engaging you in a way in order to resolve or change the feeling. Do you understand what your mind does? So, happiness. I read the promises. The promises have to do with happiness. Did everybody know that? From the big book? Can I read from the promises? From page 83, 84. If we are painstaking about this phase in our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. This is the clincher here. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. Okay, I got the whole thing here, but let's stop there. How would we know a new freedom? How would we know a new freedom? How do you know a new freedom?
You don't ever change your addiction.
Bill, when he wrote this in the big book, he was convinced that he could alter and modify himself, the function of his own mind. Everybody understand that? That's what Bill believed. So Bill says, okay, if you do all these things, you can now intervene and you can create a new freedom. Is that true or false? Can you, in fact, create a new freedom?
Completely false.
Perfect.
yeah.
John, you see the error of that statement.
Well, his dying words were, "Can I have another drink?"
Of course. And that's the most natural thing for his mind to do. Because the mind is always trying to correct what it perceives as being incorrect. Did everybody hear what I just said? The mind is always busy trying to correct what it perceives as being incorrect. So let's get back to my story, and then we're going to go with the promises further. So I was in the store, and my wife came in. Kia. Some of you met my wife. And she came in and she says, "You look really grouchy." And what would I say, those who know me?
Of course.
I would say, of course. And what would she say?
Okay, why?
How can I fix it?
She was a Buddhist nun. So what would she say?
You just say, okay.
She
Fine.
exactly. You got it, Michael. She said, okay. And I said, okay. And then I was irritated that she didn't ask me for a story. Why was I irritated that she didn't ask me for a story about why I was looking grouchy? My mind wanted reinforcement to support my being grouchy. James, do you understand this whole circle? I want you to see it. I'm showing you from me. This is what my mind does. No different than your mind. Richard, what's the only difference between my mind and your mind?
There is no difference.
Good. Everybody got that. Your mind does the same thing my mind does, but your mind does it with an identification of self, believing that what the mind does is who you are. Allison, was that too metaphysical?
No, I'm just listening.
No, the other Allison. The Allison that's falling asleep. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm not, I do understand what you're saying, but I kind of want to go back to the being able to create it in freedom, because I do find what I would call freedom in not having alcohol right here all the time, always in my brain, thinking about it, making decisions around it, working my day around it,
Yeah.
whatever.
And I understand what you're saying. And there is an elation, and when pain is relieved, the mind considers that to be freedom or happiness. When something is removed that's causing distress of the mind and it's removed, the mind says, well, thank you for removing that. I am feeling now pleasure. I am feeling comfort and contentment. But here's the problem. What does the mind do next?
It takes you to the next step.
I'll find something to create some drama again.
It says, okay, now I have experienced freedom. Now I'm experiencing happiness. Now I'm hungry for more. That's what the mind does. The mind says, that was good, but I need more because it's insatiable. Why is it insatiable? John, why does the mind keep on trying to do something that it can't do?
Gosh, you know what? That one you got me on.
Why does the mind keep on trying to do something that it can't do?
Survival.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. You're paying attention. Everybody in the group room, did I lose you completely? Are you following at all what I'm saying? I can't see the people in the back, but that's fine. John, are you back with me?
I am.
Okay, this is really important because this is truly what might give you freedom. Freedom and happiness is where? Where is it?
In your mind.
No, it's exactly the opposite. It's totally not in your mind.
Everywhere.
It's already here. It's everywhere. Freedom and happiness is the natural state of things in your world. What interferes with happiness and freedom? What is the interfering factor? What is getting in the way of that?
Your mind.
Why is the mind getting in the way of that?
It's greedy.
It's greedy for what?
More.
Pleasure.
And why is it greedy for pleasure?
Survival.
For survival. I want everybody to see what's going on, and then you can completely forget it and ignore everything I said. Is that agreeable? So let me quote from one of my favorite movies. May I?
Please.
This is from The Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz. Do you remember Dorothy at the end of the Wizard of Oz? Can anybody give me that quote without me saying it? Do you know what she said?
There's no place like home.
There's no place like home, but she was referring to happiness. Do you remember what she said? It was profound. A lot of people don't hear it. She said, if I can find happiness in my own backyard, it's not to be found. What is she saying?
Basically, if she can't find happiness within herself.
Well, that's what your mind wants you to have her say, but she says something much more profound.
I think it's kind of like what you would say is if happiness can't exist in one place, then it's
Perfect. But the operative term that you miss when you watch The Wizard of Oz, John, is it says, if I can't find happiness in my own backyard, it's not to be found. What is the message of that statement?
Don't search for it.
It's not to be found is the message. Why can't happiness be found?
It's right there on your nose.
Because it already is. It's not lost. Why does your nose not need to be found?
There.
Because it's already attached to your face.
Right.
Does everybody get that metaphor?
Yeah.
Why? So what does it say? She says, if I can't find happiness in my own backyard, it is not to be found. What is she saying? She's being a Zen Buddhist.
You don't feel like it's there. Then you never can find it.
The problem is the seeking of the happiness. The problem is the seeking of the happiness. In the
What is it, right there in front of your face? That was fine, it's right there in front of your face?
It's right there, it's right in front of your face. Happiness is part of who you are and what you are. If you go looking for it, what feelings and emotions are created when you're looking for it?
Frustration.
How could you not be frustrated because you're looking for something that's already there? So what if I said, Alicia, I want you to spend the next half an hour looking for your nose. That's your job. I want you to look for your nose for a half an hour. Let me know within that period of time when you find it. What will your response, your real awakened response be?
I found it.
It doesn't need to be found. It's already there.
Yeah.
Alicia, are you getting this? Allison, are you getting it?
I'm getting.
It's the belief that you harbor, that you attach to, that something has to be gotten that is creating the problem. Does anybody know what cognitive behavioral therapy is? What is it?
It's identifying the link between thoughts and behavior.
That's right. And what does CBT, if you're learning CBT techniques, what does it tell you to do?
Basically, you're helping people to gain insight into how their thoughts contribute to behavior, and then, potentially reframe the dysfunctional thoughts, which will in turn alter the behavior.
Okay, once the behavior is altered, Michael, what is the result?
That the behavior, well, it depends on what the behavior is. Yeah.
Well, if your behavior was killing people, then maybe you won't kill people anymore. That's good. If your behavior was drinking, maybe you won't drink anymore. That's good. But really, for your own quality of life, for your own sense of peace, happiness, and constant contentment, where do you have to look?
Within.
You have to look within. You have to see what you're doing inside you, not what I'm doing, not what John is doing, not what James is doing, not what anybody is doing, not what the world is doing. Oh, the world is having COVID-19, whatever. So you see that, and the mind is upset. Of course the mind is upset. What does the mind say?
I'm dying.
It says, I can't tolerate that. Why can't the mind tolerate COVID-19? Because the mind needs to survive, and COVID-19 is a threat to survival. So what does the mind do with that? Okay, can you in fact, the bottom line, can you, other than taking proper reasonable precautions, can you avoid COVID-19?
Not really.
You can't. So the mind is trying to get you to do something that you can't do. The mind compares experiences from the past. In the past, most people in the world, if there was a perceived problem, could resolve the problem. If there's a war, what follows the war? After you have a war, what do you have? You have peace. You have no war. After you have fighting, what do you have? Okay. When your mind is considering the experience of this virus and what's happening to the world, what is the solution? Okay, listen, this is really important because I did want to bring this up in the group. Your mind is absolutely seeking, urgently seeking a solution to a problem that it's created. What is the problem that the mind has created in relation to COVID-19?
There's no way to fix it.
We'll get to that, but what does it want to do?
It wants to survive, it thinks it can kill you.
It wants to fix it. The mind and the body is being threatened by something, and the mind and the body says, okay, now that I see I'm being threatened, now I need to fix it. Now, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling anxious, you're feeling overwhelmed, you're feeling unloved, you're feeling lonely. What does your mind tell you you need to do?
Find a solution. Solve the problem.
Okay, and according to your history, most likely, what is your easiest, most effective, immediate solution to those feelings that I described that your mind has created?
Using it.
Okay, I want you to get that. This all ties together. This is not just some wild, well, maybe it is some wild rambling from someone, but it has some relevance. So what does the mind's desire to stop what's going on in the world have to do with your drinking?
Use it as a solution.
Nothing.
Problem.
John, did I lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay, what is your mind trying to do?
I would like to say I could fix something, but the actual answer is probably nothing.
Well, the mind is going back into your past, into your memory, and it's challenging you to find something similar so you can replicate your response from the past so you can deal with this effectively. When the mind does that, what is the result of that doing?
Oh, say again. I know.
The mind is trying to go back through all its recall and memory and saying, this must have happened before, and when it happened before, this is what I did in order to survive. When the mind starts searching for an answer to this perceived problem, what is the result? What happens in the mind?
If it worked one time, it's going to work the second time.
Okay, but did you ever get through the experience of worldwide pandemic?
No.
Okay, so your mind is searching in memory and recall and experience and information, seeking to find a solution to what it perceives to be a threat and a problem. So what condition as a result are you in?
I'm in a quandary.
How does that feel? When you're in a quandary, Allison, what does your mind create? And then all those stories that it's creating, what are the feelings that concurrently are created while you're going through those stories?
For me, it's like stress and anxiety, and it's not a good thing. I like Richard said, like it's like a broken record. Like you're driving yourself crazy. It's like I can feel my throat tightening the more I think about stuff like that.
Okay, so I want you to understand, because this is real time. This is not theoretical discussion here. We're in a group and we're in the middle of having to deal with something that, if left to its own normal process and movement, will create tremendous stress, anxiety, tension, and Richard knows, anger and impatience, and even hatred. Why does the mind need to do that?
Because it just can't handle not having all the answers.
That's right. So you see the problem. The problem, if I may, is not COVID-19. COVID-19 is what?
It just is.
It just is. It's a situation. It's fucked up, but it's a situation. Where is the problem?
In ourselves.
The problem is that the mind cannot adequately process and come up with a solution when it creates a problem out of COVID-19. Did everybody follow what I just said? If you create a problem, which your mind automatically does because survival is being threatened, so the mind has now created a problem. The problem that the mind is trying to deal with is, how do I respond to this virus thing? What is the answer to the question?
I think eventually your mind will say, well, I don't have specific answers for that situation, but the last time that I got you wound up and you felt like this, the solution was drinking. So
Perfect. Allison, you got the connection. I just want you to see the movement of the mind. This is not your conscious choice. This is a pattern that is embedded in your mind based on past situations and based on the fundamental principle, Michael, the fundamental foundation principle of the mind and the body is to do what?
Survive.
To survive. That need, it's not a desire. It's a need to survive. You understand the difference? It's not, oh, I'd like to survive. No. What is Taco Bell? When you crave survival. You must have it. Survival is working, and the need for survival is working all the time, and it's pushing you this way and that way and this way and that way. And then, since we're talking relevantly about drugs and alcohol, where does it eventually push you?
to drink again.
Or to desire to drink again. It's even sometimes worse, Richard, to have a desire to drink again than to drink again. Can you explain to the group what I'm referring to?
So, some of the people in the group don't know this, but I was clean and sober and very much active in AA for 23 years. And then I relapsed.
Okay, but expand on that.
The pain got so great that I either had to die or I had to drink.
Has anybody in this group experienced what Richard just talked about? Now, where is that coming from?
Mind.
It's coming from mind.
Solution, his past solution included drinking, and so it was still on the table as as a solution.
Perfect. And Allison, you understand, it never gets off the table.
Yeah.
That-
It's so effective, it seems.
Okay. Bill Wilson described it as an allergy combined with a compulsion. Does everybody understand what he was referring to when he said that in the big book? An allergy combined with a compulsion. What does that mean?
It means that the allergy is that you have an unintended and negative response to it.
For whatever reason or reasons, when you drink or do drugs, it really fucks up your life. Okay, we're good with that. Okay, but let's get to the compulsion part. Where is that coming from?
I have a question. First off, how did it get put on the table so that we feel like we feel?
How does it? The mind creates your feelings. It has nothing to do with anything that's happening on the outside.
Not everybody does.
Not everybody does what?
Have the compulsion, have the, I don't know, have the,
John, your question is understandable, but that's like going to the doctor saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, you have terminal cancer," and your response is, "Why don't other people have it?"
okay.
You understand that that's a very reasonable question, but it's non sequitur. It has nothing to do with what's going on.
Okay.
So they used to say in AA. Does anybody know this? The saying they used to say in AA?
Yeah, which one?
Put the air in your mouth and put it in your ear, something like that. They used to say that you can't turn a pickle into a cucumber. Do you get that?
Yeah.
So you could, Michael, you could sit around and speculate and analyze and interpolate and reflect on why that is, but really the bottom line is, what is important about that whole reality, that whole truth? What is important about it?
Nothing. It just is.
It just is. Oh, Michael, you're becoming a real student. Richard he already said that. James, are you following this?
Yeah. Yep.
Now, what your mind is doing while you're following it is it's asking a question in your voice. Allison, I hear your mind going. It's asking a question, what benefit is it to know this? That's what your mind is doing. How is this going to help me? What is the answer to the question?
I think if you know this information, then you know that you have to, this is that part where you have to keep your spiritual life in check and keep your head in check, to not let yourself go completely crazy, to not let little things that happen throughout your day that could drive you nuts, to not let them drive you nuts.
No, it goes further. Allison, there's a part of this whole story and this whole equation that you're missing. And this is the part that I want you to get. It's not the story, it's the feelings that the story has created that you want to change. Now, Richard understands this. It's taken me a long time to teach him. It's the desire to change the feelings that the mind and the stories have created that are the problem. John, are you on this bus?
I am on this bus. I'm just,
Is it at the front or the back?
He's sitting in the back. He just pulled the thing. He says, "I'll get off at the next stop."
two
So
stops.
are we, to prevent ourselves from getting to that end of the road, like Richard said, his experience was either drink again or die, is our goal to still feel these feelings that come up
No, there's no effort. Allison, it's what you're talking about is sublimation and denial, is when you try to push them down and make believe they're not there. Richard tried that, but they are there. It's the trying to make believe it's not there that's the problem. John, are you?
What are
Did
we
you?
supposed to do? We're supposed to feel it and acknowledge it, but still go to the gym.
And understand what the source of that feeling is. This is, to me, is very simple. Okay, I was a Buddhist monk for a while, no big deal. I'm expecting you to do the same thing. I'm expecting you to understand and to be aware that the feelings that are being created inside. Richard, when I feel something inside, what do I do?
Nothing,
Nothing. Why?
because they're just feelings.
Allison, can you connect with that at all?
I can connect with that, and I think what I've been doing has been denial, because I'll wake up the next day and my whole body will physically hurt.
Absolutely. And I think you pinned it. I think that's exactly what you do. You try to deny it, you try to displace it, you try to somehow distract it, and then you end up with not only what you had before, but you end up with new stuff that you're now creating. And if you keep on adding and creating new stuff, how much are you carrying? You understand how much of a burden you're carrying all the time?
Yeah.
So the
Yes,
operative,
this is a new concept for me to have the feelings, but what, have the feelings been just move on?
you don't have it. That's your mistake. You are experiencing, you are creating and sensing the feelings. You don't have them. They're not part of you. That's your error. Do you understand the difference between having something and not having something?
Yeah.
Do you have happiness or you don't have happiness?
Oh, let's go get that TV. Yeah.
Was that a question to me?
Said no. Said no to what? You need your TV with you. Sorry, guys.
Okay, who was talking? Because I didn't hear you.
That was Allison now.
Police said that. Oh, that's wonderful. Open this for me.
Nice balloon. Okay, Todd, I haven't heard from you at all. You might have slept through the whole group. Did you get anything out of this group?
Did I get anything out of this?
Yeah.
I got a great deal out of this.
Did you?
Yeah.
What I'm suggesting that you do, because we're running out of time, is don't wait for a bozo like me to come along and tell you about this. This is self-inquiry. This requires practice. It requires seeing what you're doing yourself, inside yourself, not from someone from the outside. Does everybody understand that? This is self-inquiry. That's what it's called. Self-inquiry. It's a practice. It's a meditation. It's a way to stop being a victim of the patterns and the entrenchment of your mind in desire and need. Do you understand that? James, are you with that?
I am. I was waiting on for you to tell me this whole time. How do you get this? You know, how do you find this?
You find it by realizing that there's nothing to find.
Right.
You got that?
I got you.
That's super stupid frustrating.
Oh, yeah. So have I left you sufficiently frustrated so I'll be invited back next week?
Let me interject real quick, guys. I know exactly where you are right now. I've been there. But believe me, if you continue to just listen, see, and do it on a daily basis, it gets much easier.
And not only that, but you become a more pleasant person because you, well, fuck you, Richard. Thank you so much for your patience.
Hey,
Huh?
before you go,
Yeah.
everybody say goodnight, Alicia.
Good night, Alicia.
Oh,
Alicia.
oh, I hope I didn't wake you up. That's so cute. Take care. I'll see you next week.